introduce the seniors, and so it's a little different. I don't know if y'all know, but Rachel's been doing a great job. She's been working part-time with our youth ministry, and she is also a graduate. She finished her master's work. So we have a few other college graduates, Alyssa Guillory and Grant Anderson. Sorry. I glanced at Garrett, and then I went, that's not right. And anyway, Grant Anderson, they graduated, and we'll be looking at what's next for them. So send them a card, let them know that you're proud of them. So one of the things that I did in my graduate school work was I had a document that I had to update for about 4 different classes. And it was a rule of life that needed to incorporate many different factors. And it invited me to really process what mattered most, right? What was my life going to be about? What were the things that were off the table as far as negotiations for how I was going to use my life? And one of the things that has been a rule of life for me is that people come first. So in ministry, you can have lots of events and programs and tasks and responsibilities, but ultimately, that if I ever had a choice to make, that I chose people first. I promise you that the times that I have been the busiest with tasks are the times that people need the most. I could almost walk through year by year. We had a big youth rally called Renewal, and the week leading up to it, there would be something major that I would have to do. All right, there would be something major that I'd have to help with. In fact, real briefly, one year I got a call from a family that the son was not doing real well, and he needed to move to another state and go live with his dad. And they sent me to go pick him up at a friend's house and notify him of this in the car. Now, it was an honor to be in that space with them and their family, but I had people, it was Friday of Renewal, and we had people coming into town that day. It was important work, but if I'm going to make the choice that people come first, there are going to be distractions. Right? There are going to be things that say, hey, don't put people first. You've got details to think about. Have you ever had that happen to you? Where you've made an important decision for your life. Okay, you've decided that something has to take a prominent role in who you're going to be. But almost immediately, there's something that fights for your attention. And it's not even necessarily direct opposition. We've talked about that regarding Nehemiah over the last several weeks. But sometimes it's just a distraction that fights for your attention to pull you away from that commitment. You had a vision of something good and wonderful that needed to be done, but it felt like for you that there were too many things keeping you from doing it. Nehemiah faced this numerous times, and we can learn a lot from how he responds. We've been moving through this series where we've been reading from the book of Nehemiah. For many, I've had some great conversations where you're like, this is a book that I've not spent time in, and God has a lot to share here. Nehemiah is a leader in a time when the Jewish people are in exile and they have no power. They are a conquered people, but he leads an effort to rebuild the great city of Jerusalem. He faces lots of challenges, but God's hand is with him all the way. Last week, we built a wall alongside Nehemiah, and we thought about the ways that we had helped build our church. And I appreciate all of you for participating in that. I know getting something and writing on it and bringing it up to the stage is not a day that the introverts love, but thank you for staying with us on that. In Nehemiah chapter 6, the wall is mostly built. All of those people pitched in. They did their work. He faced numerous challenges getting it done, but in chapter 6, it's almost completed. But that's when new distractions arise. So we'll start here in Nehemiah chapter 6 and verse 1, and we'll learn how Nehemiah approaches these distractions. Nehemiah chapter 6 and verse 1, it said, "When word came to Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem, the Arab, and the rest of our enemies that I had rebuilt the wall and not a gap was left in it, though up to that time I had not set the doors and the gates, Sanballat and Geshem sent me this message. Come, let us meet together in one of the villages on the plain of Ono. But they were scheming to harm me, so I sent messengers to them with this reply. I'm carrying on a great project and cannot go down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and go down to you? 4 times they sent me the same message, and each time I gave them the same answer. Then the 5th time, Sanballat sent his aide to me with the same message, and in his hand was an unsealed letter in which was written, 'It is reported among the nations,' and Geshem says it's true, 'that you and the Jews are plotting to revolt, and therefore you are building the wall. Moreover, according to these reports, you're about to become their king and have even appointed prophets to make this proclamation about you in Jerusalem. There is a king in Judah. Now this report will get back to the king, so let us meet together.' And I sent him this reply. Nothing like what you're saying is happening. You're just making it up out of your head." They were all trying to frighten us, thinking, their hands will get too weak for the work and it will not be completed. But I prayed, now strengthen my hands. So the work is almost completed. And so they try to assassinate him by inviting him to come meet with them outside the city. 4 times. 4 times they call him. And Nehemiah knows if he goes, the work stops. All right? And we don't know how much in the time. In retrospect, he knows that it was an assassination attempt. But he knew he could not leave. Why should he leave and the work slow down? Because so much of the effectiveness is going to be tied to the leader. So he refuses to come out, and they get so frustrated that they write this message on an unsealed scroll. And back in those days, if you wanted to send a private message, you put a seal on it, and when it arrived at the recipient, as long as the seal wasn't broken, you knew that nobody had seen its contents. But by making it unsealed, they leave this message out for anyone to read. So they're spreading a rumor. All right, this is the putting somebody on blast on Facebook. 6th century BC style. It's not the century. Anyway. And so they're making sure everybody figures out that this gossip is running, that Nehemiah is trying to make himself a king. And this is a great threat to Nehemiah because kings and emperors do not like other people trying to be kings within their empire. All right, this is a very dangerous situation for him if everyone is believing that's what he's doing. But Nehemiah, even then, does not decide to come out and meet with them to set the record straight. He just writes back and says, you're making that up out of your own head. And he says, they're just trying to get us to slow down. They're trying to weaken us so that we don't get the work completed. They want our hands to be weakened. And so he gives another one of his breath prayers. I love this about Nehemiah. He just stops and prays. He says, now, strengthen my hands. The key factor in this section is that Nehemiah refused to be distracted. It would have made sense for him to respond and try to set the record straight, to make a trip to the emperor to say, I need you to understand these people are spreading rumors. I have no intentions like that at all. He could have sent out prophets and messengers to all the towns, say, don't worry, I'm not trying to do something awful. I'm not rebelling. I'm just rebuilding the city. But if he did that, he would be putting his time and effort in the wrong direction because his job was to rebuild the wall. And he wasn't going to let anything deter him, not even a threat on his own life. I love how he responds. And most other translations say it like this. He says, I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. They say, come on, come meet with us. And he says, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. 4 times, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. I am doing a great work. What is your great work? What are the things in your life that are most worthy of your time and effort? What are the things that you know that you have been called to do? The responsibilities that you've been given, the opportunities that you've been given, the things that you know God wants you to work at and be successful at. This is a great part of a life group conversation for later, but I really want you to think about that. What is your great work? What are the things that you should be remembered for? What's the great work that you want to be your legacy? I had a friend who was very successful in his business and was offered a track to be a vice president of a very large company, making a lot of money. And he stepped away from it because he said, it would have taken me away from my family. And I can't do that. I would have been extremely wealthy and extremely successful. But the other work I have is too important. He says, I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down. Great works are things that will not happen by accident. You don't accidentally get out of debt. You don't accidentally get healthy. You don't accidentally have a strong marriage. You don't accidentally maintain sexual purity. You don't accidentally be an encouraging friend. You don't accidentally find a Christian spouse. You don't accidentally tell your neighbor about Jesus. You don't accidentally have a meaningful role in your church community. You do not accidentally raise your children to know Jesus. These things take intentionality. They take effort. They take perseverance. They are great work. And you will constantly be faced with distractions that will undermine and derail your efforts to accomplish them. And so when these arise, I want you to remember Nehemiah's response. He says, I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. In fact, let's say that together. Repeat after me. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. Okay, now let's try this. I'm going to say, I am doing a great work, and I want you to respond with, and I cannot come down. All right? I am doing a great work. You are doing a great work. I am doing a great work. That's right. You cannot come down. Listen, when the phone rings, when you are reading to your children at night, and you know it is probably something important, you are doing a great work. And you cannot come down. You are doing a great work. When you feel the need to work more hours and stay late more nights while your family is at home, close the computer and get in your car because you are doing a great work. And I cannot come down. When you're getting ready to watch one more Netflix show, and it says you want to continue watching and you know you won't be rested for the morning, turn it off and head to bed because you're doing a great work. You are doing a great work. You are doing a great work. When the alarm goes off on Sunday morning and you've had a long and hard week, and church is something that you could decide not to go to, God would understand. Maybe no one would miss you. We're all in here wearing masks anyway. But remember that you are doing a great work. You are doing a great work. There's lots of chores and projects and things to do, but you have a church community that needs you. You are doing a great work, and you cannot come down. There are people that will want to pull you into their drama. They will want to drag you into some other controversy. They want to take your time and your attention, but you can't do it. You are doing a great work. You are doing a great work. It's a vicious cycle, and you do not have time for it. There are countless distractions that are pulling us from what matters most. But those who make a difference, the people that see the work through to the end, they have a way of being able to look those distractions in the eye and say, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. If we're to grow as a church, if we're to grow as a people, if we're to pursue vision and live into the Spirit's direction for our lives, we have to be able to be committed to great work. We need to lay down our lives for each other. We have to not get caught up in gossip. He said this, or she said that. We need to have the wisdom and discernment to say, we cannot come down. There are times that we'll get emails. Elders get lots of messages and get grabbed in different directions. Sometimes I'll respond and sometimes I won't. You know why? Because I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. If it's about building the kingdom and moving forward, then let's do that. But if we just want to fuss, I'm doing a great work. We cannot come down. For our graduates, your whole life feels ahead of you. And you're imagining the things that you can do with your life. And those possibilities are all there. And I'm sure you've made promises in yourself that this is how it's going to be different for me. This is how I'm going to lean into what matters most. But to do that, you're going to have to learn how to say, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. So may you be alert and ready to say no to the things that pull you away, and may you have clarity on the great work you are called to. For the rest of us, as followers of Jesus, may you be sensitive to where the Spirit is leading you. May you discern the great work you should give yourself to. May you consciously push away the distractions and false gods that steal our attention and rob us of joy, that keep us from having a deeper walk with Jesus. As a church, may we be focused and undeterred in the mission of reaching the lost. May we avoid gossip and drama and controversy. May we be committed to Jesus and his kingdom alone. May we all be devoted in doing our great work, whether it's as a family or as an individual, as a church, as a member of our community. May we be devoted to our great work. And when the distractions arise, may we simply reply that we cannot come down. Let's say it one more time. I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down.